Hi, it's Richard Moore from Racing Profits Guides, and we're just up here at Mount House Stables with James Given. We're going to talk a little bit about Warwick Racecourse, and obviously on the flat James sends horses down to Warwick regularly, so we thought we'd come and have a chat with him about that. Nice to meet you again, James.
Nice
How
to
are
see
you
you here. I'm very well, thanks, Richard.
Excellent. So Warwick, say it's a fair trek from you, is it, down here?
A little bit. It's not too bad. I'd consider it in my mind sort of this sort of medium distance from here.
Yeah.
It's not a race course you get put off by distance.
No, of course you enjoy going to there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what sort of horse would you send there then?
I don't think there's a specific horse for Warwick. Certainly, if you're going any distance further than the 5 or 5.5 furlongs, the bend does tighten on them as they get into it. It just tightens up. So you need to have a horse that's reasonably well balanced. You wouldn't want some sort of long, rangy, huge striding galloping type, because you might just find that bend tricky.
Right.
But it's still fair enough away from the finish that it's not, it's not like a Chester that's thrown around the bend and there's the finishing line. No, there's time to gather yourself and then get a good run into the horse. So I don't think there's a specific type of horse that would suit Warwick.
Right. So let's go through the trips there then. There's obviously a spur that goes at a slight dog leg into this home straight. That's the 5 furlong and 5.5 furlong.
Yeah, that sort of distance.
So the sprint trips are down there, and then you swing round onto the back straight and you've got your 6 furlong and 7 furlong straight. So that includes that tight bend.
Yeah.
Over those trips, and the mile is a small
little spur at the top of the back straight. And we were talking about the undulations there, and you said it's really just that small piece goes uphill and downhill into the back straight. Yeah, the 1.25 mile start, they go slightly uphill and then slightly downhill, and apart from that, it's a flat track.
Right, lovely. So the main characteristic to think about is that bend, then you think?
I think so. Yeah, that's probably the most influential part of the track. You wouldn't want to be getting caught wide on that bend.
No. And we've talked about type of horses. You'd say a sort of you wouldn't like a galloping horse there, even though it is quite straight.
Well, yeah, you would want a galloping horse, but he just has to be balanced.
Right.
And often it does suit a horse that has a turn of foot, but that's not to say galloping horses who just have one gallop can't run well there. I think the bend is still far enough away from the finish that.
So how long is the gallop in once you get round onto the home straight?
It's interesting, because where you often stand at the parade ring and then goes into stands, the finishing post is past all that. So often you can stand and be just about the furlong pole, and the race has still got quite a bit of race to go once they've passed you.
Yeah. So it's towards the end of the home straight.
At the top of the home straight, yeah. Before there's a slight left-hand turn.
So they've got a good 3 furlongs then once they come
something
into
like
there.
that. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Anything else you think people should look for when they go to Warwick?
Ground can change quite quickly. As Phil Bull said, the 3 things you think about when you're backing a horse is ground, ground and ground. And it can change because it's quite a clay-based soil there. So when it's warm and dry, the clay, as you imagine, can not set like concrete because it's not allowed to do that. It's it's watered to maintain, but it can dry
quickly.
But equally in wet weather, can get quite wet and quite sort of holds the water.
Some of the wet summers we've had lately.
And I'm thinking more in the autumns as well. When you've got wet, if you have a wet autumn,
jumps racing.
It can become quite sort of sticky, wet ground there as well. So I think
of course you'd really keep an eye on the weather forecast.
Very much so, yeah. I mean, most tracks now have adequate drainage systems, or better than adequate drainage systems. I'm not suggesting Warwick doesn't, but it's harder to manage it
just because of the soil type.
Because of the soil type, yeah.
Oh, excellent. It's a great insight into Warwick. Thanks for that.